Grand Chess Tour points. He's got to have a reasonable result.
There we go.
Nepo doesn't need anything. Nepo's already got his world championship to think about, because this is a wild card.
He's doing best just to get in the practice of over-the-board competition. And let's face it, there's such a massive difference between over-the-board competition and the virtual competitions that the pandemic has caused the players to play. And knight c3
again
comes back to this knight c3 idea. I think it was against Ali Reza Firouzja where he played the castles, bishop e3. Okay, he mixed it up. I was about to say, if you're going to put your knight on c3, aren't you hunting down that dark squared bishop? And finally, we did see the move knight a4, intending to capture the bishop. a2, a3, preserving his own light squared bishop is Nepo. Now, in this position, you know the bishop on b6 is going to get captured. There's no question. I want to take away White's other trump, his light squared bishop. I want to play the move bishop e6 here as Fabi, with or without castles, I'm not sure. I think bishop e6 immediately is the way to go.
And
he's
played. You guessed correctly there.
And I think you said it well. I guessed correctly, because I got to tell you, in Blitz, it's really hard to guess where the players are going, what they're thinking. But
I'm going to say to you, though, 8 moves in, and they are slow playing these opening moves.
Right. You're supposed to snap out these moves like you
like
know
bing,
what
bing,
you're doing.
Bing, get to a position where you'll think, and he has captured on e6. And did I see a b4 thrust? Indeed. b4 on the board. Interesting.
Looks strange, to say the least.
I called it interesting. You called it strange. Mine was more PC correct.
Bad. I would call it bad if it were some amateur players, but b4? No, I don't like that move. Nobody likes that.
I wonder what White's plan is, as Black has now played queen to e8, signaling a clear intent to bring the queen over to the king side and initiate some attack. But without the bishop on b6, I will say that that piece is so important. And look at this move.
He's inviting knight d4. So knight d4. Now, after knight d4,
that looks odd.
You're going to take, you don't want to take here and allow bishop takes d4. So takes, takes, takes. And now, with the moves b4 and c4, you basically said my pawn on a3 is backward. This is a very strange way for White.
And he's played knight d4. That is the most natural move that we look at. Like that, what is the answer to knight d4? How do you get a superior position here? Knight takes, of course, his bishop takes. And if you have to play knight takes b6, that line you're talking about, Yaz, looks like nada for White. I mean,
absolutely.
Just nothing to hope for.
Maybe a smidge for Black. In fact, because actually at this exact moment, you may be threatening something like knight b5, discover check, and knight takes b4, trying to take advantage of the rook on a1. Now, because this pawn is on a3, and you may have to play bishop b2. Well, look at that bishop. That bishop on b2 is actually hitting granite. And knight d5, knight f4, swinging.
What about knight h5, knight f4?
Same idea.
As well.
Knight h5, knight f4, swinging. And yet, just getting the queen off the tempo, makes sense. Also, knight h5.
Slowly getting a nice little position together right now.
Knight h5, knight f4.
What is White's plan? I mean, White has a number of, White has 2 key breaks, f4 and d4. So if you can point that out. There's an f4 possibility and there's a d4 possibility. Both of them come with minuses.
Big time minuses.
D4 weakens the e-pawn.
Right.
Right. F4 weakens your king side. Right? Because you could take, a knight could go to h5, your g3 square will be weak. So both breaks don't look that promising. In the meantime, your a-pawn on a3, even on a4, will need defense if that Black rook stays on that file. Black looks like he has options. And now this move, rook to a2, not sure where the rook is going. It is defended by the queen, but the a-pawn will need some work. The issue for Black, though, is what's the plan to break down White's position? There's no easy break, so now he's headed to the f4 square with his knight. Knight h5, queen to g4, quickly offering a trade of queens to try to get into an endgame. I think Fabi will probably avoid this trade, Although a trade of queens is good for him as well, it looks like.
I mean, it's so. Are they playing rapids or are they playing blitz, Maurice? Because they are playing so slowly. I'm a little bit confused. Here, I'm trading queens. Queen takes, pawn takes, knight f6, and I'm planting my rook on a4. And I'm saying, look, I may not have anything, but if anybody's got an edge, it's me. I'm going to double my rooks, and one day I'm going to play for the move c5, and I'm going to make your bishop look awful. But we'll see, like you say, the idea of keeping the queens on the board. But the problem is, how can I keep the queens on the board?
He played, I thought queen f7 was possible.
You're not worried about bishop h6?
I am worried about bishop h6 now that you said it.
Yeah. But king h7, gets off the g file, so no bishop h6 in case of queen f7. Now, if I'm Nepo shoes, I'm trading queens and I'm playing the move a4 just to make sure that you don't post up on the queen side. And in that case, I think the game is about even.
Well, Nepo's spending a lot of time and finally trading queens, as you suggested. Nepo give a shake of his head right there.
Because there was, I mean, it was like White exhausted what he had done from the open. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, White's got nothing. This game is not exactly the most exciting game we could have chosen, but this position, the key thing is going to be the clock. Says Nepo is down to 146. Fabi has a full 258, virtually 3 minutes on the clock. So that could become a real factor. A4 on the board, eliminating that weakness. He's going to be prepared to play A5. So Fabi now just needed to bring his knight back into the action. That knight, however, has no key square to get to, no future possible stable square. I can't find one. C6 will not really do it. D4 looks interesting, but a bishop could easily challenge any knight that shows up on that square, but that is his worst piece, and there he is. He's moving the knight to try to find a good spot, and I would think he's looking for knight to b8, but now the rooks have doubled, and look at Nepo. He's found a plan. A5 will do some work. And I think Fabi's regretting the way he allowed the trade of queens.
I agree.
As you had pointed out, as a rook could have been on A4, but now
posted up, right.
And stopping any of this, but now A5 looks like it's coming, and Fabi worried about this endgame because the rooks are going to break through along the A line. At least one rook will show up. Can he play for doubling rooks himself? That looks like awkward rooks on the A file if Black tries to do that.
Yeah, there's a combination in the. Oh, pardon me. So, hold on. It is White to play. Oh, I think. Sorry. I knew something was wrong. The board had not caught up. There is a combination in the position that Black should not fall into, which is this one, right? You take. No, you get back with the rook. I apologize. I was about to say, and the pawn queens. No, it doesn't. The rook comes back.
It does come back.
So doubling up on the A file, as you've suggested, Maurice, is a good way to neutralize the initiative that's stirring up.
No, I was saying if you double with the rooks, your rook is frozen. Your rooks are frozen. I guess both rooks are frozen. The white king will show up on B3 at some point. And now knight back to B8.
Is the timing?
What a move. The knight,
timing
this was his point in the first place, but is it going to work out? Can he take and knight C6 at the end? But knight C6 will be met by rook to A4 with a B5 threat.
Exactly.
Black is going full defense right now. Rook takes, knight C6, then rook to A4, and the threat will be B5, which looks unstoppable. And then the rook will reposition itself on A7, and White's rook will be much more active than Black's.
Well, we still
have
this
he played
idea.
Knight A6.
Knight A6? What?
That definitely is making White scream for the move B5.
Okay.
And then Knight C5, trade, rook down, rook to A7, rook to A7 followed by rook to B8. And maybe Black, Fabi's saying, you can't break through. And he might be right. Stability on that side. Once more, 40 seconds on the clock for Nepo. He's going to have to start moving.
Yeah, he has played this so slowly. And for a player of Nepo's strength who usually is as fast as they come.
Knight B4. Whoa. The pawn threatened on D3. That's an unexpected turn.
Whoa,
he's saying rook A7 does nothing, and he's not worried about it. And forcing the rook back to A3, allowing knight C2 if Fabi wants it.
Knight C, yeah, I'm not sure that knight B4, rook A7, rook B8, D4 looked like the way to go, but Nepo did not punish this move, knight B4.
And C5, the moves get curiouser.
Like I said,
curiouser. What is he doing?
Sometimes it's very hard to guess the moves in blitz. If you get one or two right, you kind of pat yourself on the back.
Okay, his knight
B4.
Knight is being threatened.
Rook A3, C5 were all moves that we didn't guess.
But bishop takes and rook attacks that B pawn.
That
is threatened right now. That knight has to move. And I don't know what took him so long to put it on C2. And rook F7 defending the pawn. And now F3 and rook to D7 potentially preparing D5. But his B pawn is going to be under threat forever with that rook sitting on A7. Nepo down to 15 seconds. Fabi at 36 seconds. So they will be blitzing. There's a 2-second increment that keeps the clock. But what to do now? King coming over. Will that king end up on B6?
Bishop to C3? No, he just wants to force
challenge the knight and challenge it again.
By the way, we've got some breaking news. 2 victories. Whoa,
D5 breakthrough. And rook A8 ignoring the break, saying you could take if you want to. I could take back with my D pawn, and that has occurred. And now there has to be some counterplay somewhere for black. Where to put the knight, though? B6, a target on the B6 square. I would have thought rook to B8 was better than rook A6.
Oh, no question. Why did he play
Why did he put his rook on A6?
No question.
And G5, stopping any F4 moves. King moving over to D3. And where's that king going?
I have no idea.
I don't think he's sure either. Bringing his bishop back, and now H4, blocking up the whole position. Does white have anything here? Bishop E3, tying down the king.
Well, first of all, I'm not even sure why the king's on this D3 square.
And knight to B3, knight coming back saying, I don't care if you trade. And this is what white has to do. Break an active rook, and the rook goes back to save that pawn. Now, can he attack? No, his bishop has to end up on D2 to be able to attack the pawn on G5. That is a plan, though, right?
No question about it. Bishop D2, rook.
And stopped in his tracks, chasing the knight, and there goes the bishop to D2. And he's going to put the bishop away on that diagonal, and now he's going to attack the pawn. Force defense, and then go down.
A7.
And he's headed for that G5 pawn as his hope, but he can't quite get there with the rook sitting where it is.
Exactly.
Now he can play rook H5, but that seems wrong. Whoa.
Oh, G3 with the idea of chase and king to G4. And I was going to say he was reaching.
And they're both under 10 seconds. Blitzing out moves. 2-second increment
rook F7,
only.
Rook F7.
Rook F7, and now the pawn on F3 is hanging.
But there's a check.
He's got to kill the knight.
Oh, I thought he was going to.
And pawn takes 7 seconds for each. And now the B pawn is dropping, but the C pawn is dropping. And then the E pawn with check. And now white is up a pawn with a passed B pawn. And another one dropped. 10 seconds per side. White's winning this position.
Yeah, it does feel like white's winning the position. I was about to say rook H2 was what I was calculating.
He's got problems.
He's got big
and now
problems.
he can take, and it's 2 pawns now. And he resigned, has Fabi.
Wow.
What a crazy scramble.
Nepo, and that was the last game. Nepo's play was far less than perfect, but he's such a practical blitz player.
Yes.
And Fabi just couldn't keep up with him at the end there, Maurice.
Not at all.